President Donald Trump came out recently and ordered the release of all of the files on UFOs, aliens, UAP, and extraterrestrial in all related agencies across the board. And we're going to have to wait and see exactly if that's going to happen. It's not necessarily an executive order, but there is some news that is dropping about that and new information coming out all of the time. In fact, Eric Burleson, the congressman, is scheduled this month to visit a known location where there is supposed to be a UFO or non-human intelligence built craft of some kind that is being housed by one of these agencies. And he got permission from the White House to go and visit this site. Check out what he said.
But what is reported is that we have a reverse engineering program that's called the Legacy Program of engineering craft that are of non-human intelligence, and so you can follow that rabbit hole. That's one of the things that I'm trying to track down. I'm have requested from the White House to go to these locations where people report that there's, like, whether it's a research center and they're reverse engineering, or where they've got a vehicle, or where they have bodies. I've requested to be able to go tour these facilities. Now,
you got approval?
The White House has no problem getting, saying yes. I mean, to me, whenever I made that request, they said, sure. Well, now I have to go through all the bureaucratic, channels, and we do have our first site visit scheduled at the end of this month. But yeah.
So all these programs in all of these sites are under the authority of Secretary Hegseth?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And within some of these sites, they are the Department of War, but also you may have intelligence agencies that are involved. Some of them, you have private companies that are on site. And so that's what I'm specifically trying to get to. That, the rumors are that you've got, whether it's MITRE or EGG or or it could be Northrop Grumman, Lockheed, Raytheon, you name it, that they have at least some components of craft that they're reverse engineering.
This entire situation has me wondering, where exactly in the United States could there be NHI craft? UFOs, whether they were dug up from archaeological digs, as Bob Lazar said, what he studied out at S4 at Area 51, or if they were actually psionic contact downed and captured craft that the military and affiliated organizations and corporations may have acquired, and through their government contracts are studying and attempting to reverse engineer or observe their behavior. So just out of speculation, I want to try and name off some of the places where I think it's highly likely some of these objects could be right now. One of the first most obvious ones is Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. After the Roswell crash, most of the reports about where the bodies and the UFO material from the Roswell crash, where it was taken, was to Wright-Patterson Airfield. So we have to put that one on the list. It could be Wright-Patterson. Also, there are rumors that all of the alien objects or non-NHI objects that were kept at Area 51, once Area 51 was disclosed, that a lot of those could have been moved into Utah up to Dugway Airfield. So that's a second possible location where they could be housed. We also have to mention that Lockheed Martin is an obvious corporation that has billions of dollars worth of government contracts, and they are in this weapons technology and reverse engineering point of conversation, where we have to mention that Lockheed Martin is a very probable location where some of this material is housed. Lockheed Martin and engineers and scientists from Lockheed Martin have actually contracted and worked with Tom DeLonge at To the Stars Academy to study some of the metamaterials that were owned and kept by Dr. Hal Puthoff. And so Lockheed Martin was involved in the study of some of those metamaterials, and the results of that data is on the To the Stars Academy website for that bismuth alloy material that they allegedly got from astronaut Edgar Mitchell that he sent to Art Bell in Las Vegas, Nevada, and then Linda Moulton Howe got it. Then Travis Taylor from Skinwalker Ranch, before he worked at Skinwalker Ranch, when he was a member of the Defense Intelligence Agency, he was the first one to scientifically study that material. And then it went into the hands of Dr. Hal Puthoff, and now it is owned by To the Stars Academy, Tom DeLonge's company. Another obvious mention has to be Northrop Grumman. They have just as many contracts as Lockheed Martin, and it's also very highly likely that Northrop Grumman has some of these craft and are attempting to reverse engineer them for their technology. But Jeremy Corbell was just recently on the Duncan Trussell podcast, and he had this to say about a known location in the United States where he feels like he has confirmation where they have a UFO.
I'm not saying that. I'm not breaking any rules. And you could say whatever you want about Lou Elizondo. He's a spook. He's not a spook. The information is correct.
Can you pull up Pax River UAP?
I've been warned not to talk about this. Fuck that, man. It's all out in the news, man.
On YouTube?
I guess just Google it.
Just Pax River.
Where's Pax River?
Just pull it up. I don't want to, East Coast, I don't want to get anything wrong.
Okay, Daily Mail. Let's open that. Mysterious vehicle of unknown origin hidden at U.S. Navy base. So it must be a news report has claimed that Naval Air Station
There we go.
Patuxent River in Maryland, better known as Pax River, has kept an exotic vehicle of unknown origin secretly housed there since the 1950s. Shit, that could be like Roswell.
I also think it's important to mention that NASA and its affiliated locations probably has some material, if not an entire craft, that they've been studying as well. Uri Geller has photographic proof of a time when he went and met with Wernher von Braun, and he was with astronaut Edgar Mitchell and Dr. Hal Puthoff when he was allegedly a member of the CIA, where he not only saw metamaterials and touched them, but also craft and crash debris from a UFO, and then he was taken into the basement of a NASA facility where he actually saw alien bodies. This is a bit of a longer interview with Ross Coulthart on News Nation on his Reality Check podcast, but let's take a listen to what he had to say about his whole experience.
I was trying to extract from you, Uri. Now listen, you've already flagged the other major incident in your career that touches on UFOs, and again, Edgar Mitchell has confirmed a large part of this story to my friend privately. During his lifetime, Edgar, the Apollo 14 lunar module pilot astronaut, was unwilling to say publicly that he'd ever had definitive proof of alien life. But privately, he confided in friends, and I've reported this in my book, that he was aware when he had experiences on the moon, he was aware that they were being observed. And he talked to my friend about blue lights that were clearly some kind of structured craft that were following the astronauts during their time in their lunar journey. But he also talked privately to people about something that happened, I believe, at the Goddard Space Center with Wernher von Braun, the father of America's space program, the former Nazi, who I understand embraced you as a friend, even though I'm sure as an Israeli Jew, you must have felt very uncomfortable with his background. But it must have been a very interesting meeting. And I'm intrigued if you can tell me, please, the story of what transpired between you and Dr. Wernher von Braun.
Okay, first of all, what Edgar Mitchell described you on the moon, that's a tiny thing. Yes, they were followed, but the big thing is, and Edgar says it outright, that a UFO, a craft, crashed on planet Earth. They pulled out bodies of aliens. And that's what Wernher von Braun wanted to show me. This is a photograph of Wernher von Braun and me. He's taking me into his limo, and we drive off to a huge concrete building. But let me now backtrack. One day, Ed Mitchell calls me up and says to me, Uri, there's a very important doctor who wants to meet with you. I said, fine. He says he's a NASA scientist. I said, fine, who is he? He says to me, he's Dr. Wernher von Braun. I say, what? Dr. Wernher von Braun wants to meet me? Dr. Wernher von Braun was a Nazi. I've got photographs in the museum here. He's among Gestapo officers. I was shocked when Ed Mitchell told me that, but I couldn't resist. No way. So in the end, with some conflict in my mind, because half of my family were murdered by Nazis, I say to Ed, take me. We get to a NASA base, and by the way, at that time I worked with the CIA, and the CIA gave me a tiny Minox German camera. It's also hanging here on the wall, because I spied for the CIA in Mexico, because I was very close to the president of Mexico, and the CIA gave me some missions to do in Mexico. I take that little camera with me, and I give it to my brother-in-law, and I say to Shippy, his name is Shippy, short for Samson. I say to him, Shippy, when we enter Werner von Braun's office, you've got to snap a photo, because nobody will believe me. So we enter Werner von Braun's office. Mitchell is with me, Shippy is with me, and there was a CIA man with us too.
Now, it's important to note when he says that there was a member of the CIA there, look in this picture closely. You've got Uri Geller, Hal Puthoff is who he's talking about, Werner von Braun, and Edgar Mitchell. That is Hal Puthoff in the white shirt and tie right there when he was much younger, apparently a member of the CIA. And then the person over on the right-hand side with the beard, that is astronaut Edgar Mitchell. So the photograph all lines up with him there with Werner von Braun holding the metamaterial. This is the actual photograph. There's the close-up. You can totally tell that's Hal Puthoff. He was there. So Dr. Hal Puthoff, who's at To the Stars Academy with Tom DeLonge with metamaterial, that all seems to line up and check out. And it also means that Dr. Hal Puthoff is not telling the full story about all of his experience, because I've never heard him go on the record and tell his version of this trip to NASA with Werner von Braun and seeing this metamaterial with Uri Geller out of the Stanford Research Institute at the time.
The first thing that Werner von Braun does, he pulls out of his pocket a tiny little piece of metal, and Shippy snaps. And Werner asks me to touch the metal and tell him what I feel it is. So I place my finger on the piece of metal, and I tell him, Werner, this is not from here. He says, you're right. This is a piece of a UFO. Okay, wow. Then he says to me, come with me. He takes me into his private office, and there is a safe in the office. He opens the safe, and inside there's a bigger piece of metal, about this big, maybe 12 inches. He holds it in his hand, and he says to me, Uri, now place your hand on the piece of metal. Tell me what you feel now. So I place the palm of my hand on the piece of metal, and I immediately tell him, Werner, this is from a UFO. And he says, you're right. Now come with me. He takes me out to the parking lot, and this is a photo. It's an enhanced photo. Somebody made it, more color. And he puts me in a limo, says, sit next to me. I sit next to him. He gives an order to the driver to drive. We drive into the heart of the base. We come to a concrete building. Nothing is written on the building. There's a soldier standing by the door. He opens the door, and Werner says to me, follow me. We go down 3 or 4 flights of floor into the abyss of the building.
Is it just you?
No, just me and Werner von Braun. Then in the corridor of that 3rd or 4th floor, there are hooks on the wall, and on the hooks are hanging orange Antarctica coats. You know those warm coats that you wear in Antarctica? They're
Sure.
orange in color, but they all had a NASA logo on. He says, put one on. And he puts one on. I don't know what the hell is going on. And then we turn around the corner. We come to a huge metal door. He opens the door, and I see an enormous refrigerator. It's cold. I walk into this cold space, and listen, Ross, I'm definitely not an idiot. and I definitely was not hypnotized. With my own eyes, I see alien bodies. Some were mangled. They're all in glass tubes. I mean, I'm just mind blown, shocked. I was stunned. I froze, and it suddenly everything dawned on me in that refrigerator room that this is all real. Everything that I believed in, it's all real. What this is? This
Can you describe those bodies to me?
very similar to the alien figures that we are used to see, the grays. Look, most of them were mangled. Yeah, most of them were. They looked like they were pulled out forcefully out of a craft, or just, I don't know, found strewn around the UFO. But it was mind blowing. Just, I mean,
What did Werner tell you about where those beings came from?
He didn't. He didn't. We went back to the office. Ed Mitchell was there. Werner gave me a gift. He gave me it's here. I have the camera here. It's a German camera. He said, Uri, you can have this as a gift. I took it because I said I wanted something that belonged to Werner von Braun. And that was the end of the story.
So there you have it. There are multiple possible locations where captured or recovered UAP could be kept by government facilities and their affiliated contractors for reverse engineering, observation, and study. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Where do you think it's most likely that if our government or military or one of these agencies has a recovered UFO and bodies or biologics that they're studying, where do you think it is?